folks, we are back, spawning into the first game of the final series of the night. This series will decide which player advances to the round of 16, diving headfirst into the prize pool, grabbing themselves a cool $100 and the opportunity to play against Jaedong, and which player leaves with nothing. The player spawning in the 6 o'clock spawn, in the purple. From Root Gaming, it is MaSa.
And his opponent spawning in the 2 o'clock position, representing Axiom Esports, it is Ryung.
I can't even do it. Ryung.
Right.
There you go. Got it.
Ryung.
Got it that time.
Yeah.
Ryung.
The role of
Yeah.
got him. So here
It's
we
nice.
go. In our first TVT in quite a bit of time, I believe the first one of the round of 16. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to assume that I'm right. Yeah, I'm just going to assume it, because I believe this is the only group that has 2 Tyrants in it. Yeah. So,
I mean, certainly in the round of 16, but I don't even think we had any in the round of 32 either.
I mean, My Darling versus who is it? Supernova. That's the one that I think of when it comes to TVT, and I think that was the only one that we had. Oh, MaSa and Lilikanin. But yeah, they did play. Okay,
there you go. So, well,
so MaSa's played a TVT in both of the groups that he's been in.
He's probably thinking, "Wow, this tournament is pretty Terran heavy." And
Right.
in fact, it's just him. He's just, going in there, fouling up the groups.
His milkshake brings all the Terrans to the yard, man. That's how it is.
You don't want all the boys being brought to your yard in a TVT, because then
No.
you have to shut down.
This is true. Well, both players did go for the gas first. Into that very heavy tech, getting that factory first. We see this a lot more often in TVT nowadays. Just aggressive openers, and like you were saying too, it tends to usually be Banshee, and sometimes you'll see some mind games too, where it's like, all right, if I assume he's going Banshee, then I'll get the Viking and the Raven out and counter it, and then go into whatever type of play that I would like to go into. So.
It sure does look suspiciously like Banshee out of Ryung, because he's building a tech lab on that factory and building a starport right next to it. So if that isn't a sign of Banshee, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, as we see, MaSa, is he just now beginning the tech lab? So maybe we will see Banshee versus Banshee. Both of these players have never met, at least in the ASL, and it's probably the first game that the first game they play against each other. They have no idea what to expect. I don't know, like if Ryung at least has a lot of games where it's like, okay, this guy's definitely, he will go Banshee, he's gonna go Raven, he'll go Viking off of it, but they just kind of play it out like it's a regular TVT on the ladder, I feel like, at this point, between the two. They don't have the games from the ASL to really study from, I would say.
Yeah, I really like that they're taking the kind of forceful approach to it, though. In that, going into this against players that they've never encountered before, they're both kind of going, you know what, let's do something to rustle them up a bit. And in fact, we see MaSa opening with a Viking before the Banshee. So when that comes out, he's going to have a bit of a defense for the moment it arrives. See,
yeah, and he's getting
just going straight cloak. Yeah,
right into cloak, right into Banshee. Neither of them have even scouted where they... Well, I guess MaSa has seen where Ryung has scouted, but we saw that Ryung went the wrong way with that SCV for the first time, but his Banshee will know exactly where he is. But he has to be careful not to fly over that Widow Mine. The Raven coming out from MaSa will allow the Viking to finish it off if it does fly over it.
Yeah, and actually the SCV is going to trigger it. SCV triggers it. No Widow Mine will be killing the Banshee today. There is a Raven out on the way out for both players, though. So MaSa actually taking quite a defensive posture with the Viking, with the Raven follow-up. And I like seeing players have a Raven in TVT, because it denies that air superiority or advantage. It denies the Viking wars to a certain extent. And interestingly, introduces the dynamic wherein you have to decide whether to produce Vikings in the first place, or whether you just commit more heavily to your ground-based forces. So it's another kind of dimension to the game.
Yeah, and I really like that he did that, because he kind of read it out and said, if he does go Banshee, I'd rather have that defensive position and be able to chase it away. Doesn't get the kill, but does ward it away and doesn't really take much damage from it. And then both players will go into this kind of marine tank style. But MaSa's actually adding on Banshees after the fact, so Ryung may not expect that, as he hasn't built any turrets or anything like that. He's just kind of playing out his own game, getting the Marines and the tanks, getting the upgrades for his bio, and then even adding on a command center.
Adding on a command center is quite a big move. If you get that command center out in TVT and it's not punished, realistically, you can often get yourself into a stance where you're significantly ahead of your opponent in macro. But at the same time, I think it's one of those matchups where, a bit like PvP, you find yourself for quite a long time after expanding, if your opponent doesn't as well, you can find that you're vulnerable to timings to a pretty strong extent. I
think since they both opened up with the kind of one base, like, Banshee, and seeing how it's going to go, we saw MaSa open up a bit more defensively.
Super rude Widowmine out of Ryung.
But I'm saying, it kind of stabilizes to an extent. Banshees can't really do too much afterwards, and it really depends on what each player does follow it up with. Ryung, he got his expansion a little bit later, but he's just going into that kind of standard, mid-game TVT. Oh!
That Widowmine.
Yeah, and I think that MaSa, he's going to be able to do a little bit with this Banshee if MaSa... Oh my god, that Marine... Oh no, that's MaSa's Marine, imagine.
Yeah, no, it hit it. Both players getting their Banshees smacked by Widowmines, but MaSa's first Banshee now into the natural of Ryung, doing some damage to those SCVs, already getting a couple of kills to its name, and going to be shooting down a few more. The Raven coming in to deal with that, throwing down the auto turret. I never remember what that thing's called. I always want to call it a PDD, but it's not.
Yeah, the auto turret.
Yeah.
Really cool unit, actually, for the use of the Raven energy, as it does have a really high priority for targeting. So if you drop an auto turret and then you try to, A-move into something that has other units, your units will focus the... Oh, down goes the Banshee, but your units will actually focus the auto turret. It has a very high priority over a lot of the other Terran units, so...
Yeah, it allows you to disrupt your opponent's micro quite effectively if they don't know that it's coming.
Mm-hmm. So here we go with the first Marine tank potential push here out of MaSa. And I feel like, when you do open up like that and you do expand, once you start getting those tanks out, it's a lot easier to defend if you set up in a defensive position, such as MaSa looks to be, but he's kind of just hanging out. Ryung moving around with his medevac, just chilling with it. And they're both going for the same kind of style, and this is very common in TVT nowadays, but this is also very common in TVT, as we see both, all four of these medevacs getting loaded up with all of the units of
Doom drop.
Yep. See Doom drop so much now, and it's just that two base into, the one base Banshee type of deal into this kind of two base who's going to YOLO harder kind of build. And this is going to go unscouted. Oh my god, though, that...
Here's a question for you, though. At what point does a drop become a Doom drop?
Oh, I know, right? I always think of it as a ratio of units that you have. Not necessarily...
I guess so.
Oh my god, though, here's the big drop. Oh, the SCVs!
Those
the meat grinder! They just went into the meat grinder right there.
Brutal. Yeah, they just got smashed apart, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Double cancel on those barracks. Bigger things on MaSa's mind, just dropping in Ryung's base. Both players going for that aggression at the same moment, seeing that respective opening on either side. And it's going to be really hard for either one of them to defend this. But Ryung has more stuff on the other side of the map.
Exactly. The two tanks are going to be the lifeline here, but MaSa's bringing another tank, and we are going on into a full-on base trade scenario. And we're going to see exactly how much Ryung is going to be able to deal with this, as it looks like MaSa has kind of forfeited this defense because a lot of his units are on the other side. He just can't do it. He got the Ryung got the jump on MaSa, so this is just goes out of control at this point in the game. A lot of that supply that is in Ryung's is the SCVs because he still has his, but the production is what you want to go for in these situations. Going to expose his tanks, though. MaSa is exposes one of them to SCVs. This is Ryung's moment.
It was SCVs and friendly splash, and now getting up so close with those tanks actually clears up the drop. Ryung down to 14 SCVs, but he is still in his opponent's base. He has still got his tanks up in there, and MaSa only has 14 army supply.
Yeah, after that move with Ryung getting the surround on the tanks, MaSa doesn't have any type of advantage. Gee, it's kind of... Alright, we are spawning into potentially the final game of the series. It is game number 2 between these two players. Spawning in the bottom right corner, representing Axiom Esports, it is Ryung.
And building in the bottom right, but starting in the top left. In the purple, representing Root Gaming and laying it all on the line, it is MaSa.
Look,
have they seen
the
each other
barracks,
yet?
the factory. Yep, the factory that is building by Ryung sees this bunker building. The Marauder is already out, and if that SCV goes down, he is going to be trapped in there. And he cancels it, of course, but there is not enough DPS here. Hey, SCVs, what's up? Gonna go in, trap the Marauder. That Marine is putting in work, but he will actually survive. He could even micro some SCVs out of there if he wants to.
It's nice positioning on the Marauder, though, absolutely minimizing that SCV surface area. Only 2 of them able to attack at once, and of course they have to be pulled back a little. Now a second Marauder on its way out, going to pull itself down that little crack in the base wall itself to just try and cause trouble, basically. Causing trouble.
He is, and he's denying so much mining time. He can't let that Marauder get surrounded, though. He just needs to do as much damage as he can, as Marauders aren't the fastest.
It happened! Ryung
down
is too
goes
fast.
the Marauder.
Next Marauder. It's okay, he lasted for long enough.
Oh no, he's gonna get it surrounded again. He's trying to do some good micro, but no.
No.
That is not good. You want to get these Marauders to get to a count where they start to just obliterate the line, but no.
GG, that was short-lived. Wow.
Well then.
Goodness me. I didn't think that was going to be ever so soon.
Yep. That was like, he saw it with the corner of his eye. It was the tech lab and the bunker.